Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I am joined by the beautiful Allie Chappell, whose name I have never messed up in my life. Allie, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Yeah.
I want to say again, before we get started, thank you so much for doing this. And before we talk about the reason you're here, Allie, I would like for people to get to know you a little bit. Allie is a Canadian scream queen, professional actor, and award-winning director and writer. She has appeared in numerous horror films, including The Day Lacey Called, Necropolis, Legion, Scream of the Blind Dead, and many, many more. So what got you initially interested in wanting to write and direct horror films?
Well, I had been like acting in them for so long. Also, I'm sorry, there is like something in my eye, and now I feel like I'm doing a whole like lazy eye weird blinking thing. So just across the board. So yeah, I've been acting in them for so long, and I've been like a little movie geek since I was like a child. And then during the pandemic, I got an idea for a short, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get this idea to someone else and they can write it, and then I'll see, like maybe I'll star in it. I don't know. And then I just kind of came to the point where I was like, wait, I'll just try my hand at writing it. Like I'll call in some favors, I'll put this short together, and like if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So
Sure.
I wrote it out really quick because I am, especially during the pandemic, like I am like really weirdly obsessed with social media, because I just think there's like influencers are just like a different kind of people. Like I post a lot, but I'm never like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing today. This is where I'm going. Oh my God, look at all my stuff. Let's do this, blah, blah, blah. Like that's not what I do. So whenever I watch like influencers, I'm like mildly obsessed with them constantly like live streaming their lives. And that's kind of what my first short film Verified is about. It's on YouTube right now. You can go to the Unholy Chapel and watch it. It's like the pinned one right at the top.
Mhm.
And it ended up just being like, it kind of took off, and I did not see that coming. And then I ended up winning like the jury award at Salem Horror Fest, and then I won like a best debut something at the Knoxville Horror Film Festival, and I was like, am I really good at this? Like this is a fluke, right? Like so I kind of just got into that because I like there was nothing happening during the pandemic. Like I wasn't booking gigs or even like auditioning because we were so locked down. So I was like, if people are comfortable making a short, like we'll be masked up. We'll do what we need to. And
Right.
it worked out.
And it's amazing how that works. And one thing I do want to say real quick, you guys don't have to search for it, because I have not only the short film, but I have all of Allie's links and everything down here in the description below. So make sure you're
Yes.
following social media. Make sure you're watching the short film. It's an award-winning film. I promise you that you will dig it. So, do you have anything coming up down the pipeline, Allie, that you can talk? I know there's NDAs and stuff like that, but do you have anything coming up that you can discuss?
Yeah, I did sign an NDA recently, so I can't talk about one project, but it's really cool, and I got to be behind the camera again. Yeah, the film The Day Lacey Called that I star in is finally making the rounds. It just played at the Sault Ste. Marie Film Festival because that's where it was shot. So why, and like literally it's such a Sault Ste. Marie film that like why wouldn't it play there? So hopefully that's gonna play some festivals like in my area, in your area, because I'm just realizing I don't know where your area is.
I don't know if you can't see it.
I was like, you just disappeared. Is that Detroit?
It is.
Oh, okay, then it should play. I'm assuming it'll play in the area. I don't know,
Well,
but
the fact that you said Sault Ste. Marie, I was like, she has a good head on her shoulders because she knows how to say it.
oh yeah, well, I mean, we're Canadian up here. We know how to talk about the Sioux. Like, also hearing people who don't know how to pronounce it is so good. Being like salt,
Salt.
and I'm like, guys, it's like the littlest amount of French you can know. Like,
That's so great. But congratulations on that. And one thing is, when that does make its rounds, and when maybe it'll get to streaming, you guys will know about it because now you're following her on social media because you clicked those links in the description a couple seconds ago. So
yay.
that is the great thing about this, is we can get the word out there on the things that you're doing. And I'm so excited to see what the future holds for you. But here for a minute, Allie, I do want to go back to the past and talk about, you can't star in horror movies, direct horror movies, write horror movies unless horror started for you somewhere. So I want to go back to the past and talk about how horror started for you, your first horror movie. And Allie, the first horror movie that you watched was?
Okay, so this is crazy. I am like 80% sure it was Nightmare on Elm Street because I have so many like vivid memories of watching that as a kid with my brother. And like I remember being in his bedroom watching it. Then I also remember being like at my sister's cottage and watching it. Also, in case people are wondering, my sister and I, we have a major age gap. Like she is like 25 years older than me.
Wow.
She wasn't just like a 15-year-old sister who just happened to have a cottage. But then I was thinking about it because I was like, okay, well, I vividly remember like the end sequence with the car. But then I also remember like the phone with the tongue. And then I vividly remember the Q-tip going through the head because that made me stop using Q-tips for like 5 years. And I was like, okay, so that's like 1, 3, and 5. In my mind, I'm like, there's no way I watched those all at the same time. But like, those are my vivid memories of being like a small young child watching these horror films.
Mhm.
So now I just feel like it's just like, it's too ingrained in my life.
Right.
But like, I'm pretty sure that's the franchise I watched first growing up. Besides like the kids shows we had in Canada, like Goosebumps and Erie, Indiana. And I know Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah. What was the other? There was Goosebumps. Are You Afraid of the Dark? They had a bunch of this stuff on Nick at Night that the scary stuff that kept you on the edge of your seat as a kid. So
yes, and it was great.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was the gateway horror back then. That was your little step into horror. So do you remember about how old you were the first time that you'd seen Nightmare on Elm Street?
Oh my God, I must have been. Well, this is an awkward way of remembering things. I'm like, it was definitely before my dad died. So I definitely would have been before I was 8 years old. Not to just like bum everybody out.
Right.
But like horror wasn't like a taboo thing in my house. Like my dad loved horror films and he had no problem like sitting us down and watching some stuff, even like really inappropriate stuff. And my mom never cared that like when we went to the video store, like my brother would be like, we're renting these horror films. And I'd be like, yeah, what he said. Because he was older than me, so he made the decisions.
Right. And you don't want to wuss out in front of Big Brother, you got to be able to hang with him.
No, I don't. No. I had to be on the same level as him. So like I'm like 5 and he's 7. He's like, we're gonna watch these violent horror films. Are you cool? I'm like, sure, yeah.
Well, I mean, I've gone on record numerous times saying that, in my opinion, A Nightmare on Elm Street is probably the closest thing you can get to a perfect horror movie when you're looking at all around horror. I mean, it's got the practical effects, it's got the great villain, it's got the low budget. The only thing I hate is the ending with that stupid fucking blow up doll getting dragged through the door. And I know you talked about it, but I hate the Freddy car. The Freddy car drives me absolutely insane.
So dumb, but like I have vivid memories of me as a child, like trying to like draw that car.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I was one of those kids who like the teachers had to like call home to make sure things were okay.
I would notice your daughter's drawing Freddy cars, and
it was a lot of like me drawing, like they would be like, we're gonna learn some shapes today, and I'm like, cool. So my shape was like drawing a zombie out of shapes, so like the circle for the head and like a rectangle for the body and little rectangles for arms, but he would be like missing an eye and bloody, and my teachers were like, that's not how you should draw shapes. Like, is everything okay at home?
Right. Calling your dad like,
my childhood is fine.
Calling your dad like, hey, Allie's been saying welcome to primetime, bitch, all day.
Welcome to primetime, bitch.
We don't know what this is all about, but we just wanted to figure out what's going on here.
Face.
So, A Nightmare on Elm Street is super influential. I feel like it's one of the most influential horror movies of all time. But what would you say the scene was, Allie, that affected you the most from Nightmare on Elm Street?
Like as a human or on like a cringe level? Because like cringe level, it's in 5 with the Q-tip. Like I literally had to stop using Q-tips for so long, and even now I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this, but I'm gonna like have like 2 hands here.
I just feel like as a kid that when you were watching A Nightmare on Elm Street, the scene that just rocked you the most.
It's not like a violent scene by anything, but like the bathtub scene, just because like I am a bather over a shower, if that makes sense. But like And I was that like, even now as an adult, like, if I could take like 3 baths a day, I would. But as a child, I was like really into taking like bubble baths because they were warm and cozy and I felt safe. And seeing that scene, I'm like, well, I'm fucking not safe. So cool.
And it's amazing. I just think this movie, the practical effects of this movie are so damn good.
Mhm.
I mean, in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger's in the movie for 7 minutes because they did everything practically and they wanted to make sure he looked the same. And that's why you have him dragging her up the wall where you can't see him, or, the Johnny Depp waterbed scene. You don't see Freddy
God,
in these moments, so there's all these different scenes that you never see Freddy Krueger in because they wanted to stay true to their low budget. And I think that's phenomenal. And it looks great that way. And we just talked about a couple kills just now. But which kill, Allie, would you say it was that stuck with you the most from Nightmare on Elm Street?
From the original, it's definitely the Johnny Depp one. Because for like my entire child, I had been on one waterbed in my whole life. And I was like, yeah, man, waterbeds are the coolest. And then that whole scene happened. And I was like, okay, now you've ruined baths and waterbeds for me. So, but then like society ruined waterbeds for me. So,
yeah.
But also,
yeah, no joke.
I already had watched Johnny Depp stuff before seeing him in this. So I was like, oh no, they killed Johnny Depp. And it's like a shower of blood.
Right. What happened to Crybaby? This is the worst thing ever. So obviously the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is a huge franchise, which I'm hoping we get more in the future on. But at this moment of recording, what episode, which movie in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise would you say is your favorite of the bunch?
3 across the board.
The Dream Warriors?
Yeah. In fact, I spent like way too much money on this flat hat that looks so dumb because I'm like, the Dream Warriors hat. I have to wear it all the time.
Yeah, and the best thing about the Dream Warriors is I feel like that's one of the only Nightmare on Elm Street movies where you're actively rooting for all the kids too. You're not just rooting for Freddy to kill a bunch of meat bags. You're like in part 1, you're kind of rooting for Nancy just because you get to know her the most. But in Dream Warriors, you're actively like, oh my God, I love every single one of these characters. And I think it's the best made, like when it comes to an overall with the villain and the kids. I think it's the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie there is too.
I fully agree. And it has some of the most like weirdly iconic moments in horror with like the snake Freddy like eating her and like the veins being like ripped open, then he's like marionetting. And like I also, just as sequels go, it's rare that like a third of something is ever good, but like truly I'll watch this one before I watch any others in this franchise.
It's funny you say that because, and I'm not being like funny, haha here. The third one is usually my favorite in every franchise. Like, in this one, Friday the 13th, part 3 in 3D is my favorite. Child's Play 3.
I do have the
Military
Academy for that one. Halloween 3 obviously is like a perfect movie.
Yeah, love Season of the Witch. Love it so much.
It's so good. I just watched all the Hellraiser films, which I mean, I don't recommend it, but if you're gonna do it in 2 days. Just like fucking barrel through it. And then, I don't remember the third one of that one, but I just remember after 2, they all just progressively like.
Oh yeah, and Hellraiser's an exception. I think 2 is the best one in that franchise.
2 is definitely the most interesting of all of them.
Yeah. See, but I get a lot of shit where I think The Exorcist is probably the scariest movie of all time.
But The Exorcist 3 has the best kill moment.
Oh my God.
Like the most shocking out of all of them with the shears.
The whole movie though, I think The Exorcist 3 is probably the most underrated horror movie of all time. Like it's in my top 10 of all time.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree.
So it's good to be able to talk to somebody else that really enjoys The Exorcist 3 because that movie is so fucking good, man.
Oh, I also this thing where like I know if a movie has like more than just 3 sequels, I'm like, well, I'm gonna take a day and watch all of them. Even if I like them or not. Like I was working at home the other day and I decided like, hey, all of the Cabin Fever movies are on Tubi, so I should watch them. Then I realized, oh my God, I fucking hate that series.
I do too. I'm a little too gross for me. So
it's not even gross. It's just like the dialogue is so shitty. And like in the first one, I'm like, oh my God, Eli Roth, have you ever talked to another human being? Because this is not how people talk. And then the fact
Right.
that like the new Cabin Fever from like 2016 is just a shot for shot remake with the same script. I'm like, guys,
I never even watched it because that's what I heard. I heard it's like the exact same
the
thing.
exact same. They just kind of like update things. So they're like, what? There's no Wi-Fi. There's no GTA 5. I'm like, cool. Now we know what era you're in.
Right. Yeah. Stop it. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Allie, I had an amazing time talking to you about your first horror movie and what that movie means to you. But now I do want to say real quick, as always, my little buddy Ghostface is here. And now he has a question that he would like to ask you. What's your favorite scary movie, Allie? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Just because I enjoy the rewatchability of it. I know it's not a top 10 film by any means, and probably a lot of people don't like it, but I could watch Urban Legend Final Cut like every day. And that's not because it's my favorite, it's just it has good rewatchability.
Right. Well, and you know what? Like, my favorite horror movie of all time is House from 1986.
Oh, I
And
fucking love House.
yeah, I think it's the perfect movie. And well, not perfect. The only perfect movie ever is Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But House is close. And I have a lot of people that are like, wow, it's so cheesy. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's, you know, that's what I love about it, is how cheesy it is. And just because I love something doesn't mean it's got to be the best movie I've ever seen. Like you said, to have something, I love the movie, the video game movie, Stay Alive.
Oh, Stay Alive. Oh my God, I love that too. Little like Jimmy Simpson is in it. And I'm like,
yes. And again, not a great movie,
oh
but it's
no,
so rewatchable. Like
nonsense.
I'm entertained when I watch it.
Oh yeah, that's one of the films I just like I can always go back to. Mainly because when it came out, I bought it immediately because I was like, I'm gonna want to watch this a lot. Like
That's so
I'm
amazing.
such a sucker for like all of the I Know What You Did Last Summer films. Basically anything that like Scream Factory releases, I probably own. Like I have like all of the like Elvira stuff and like, oh my God, I just got Ghost Ship because I'm like, that's a fucking banger movie.
Yes. So good.
That opening scene is perfect. And then the movie is just like downhill from there. But like it works.
I don't know, man. When they're eating, like that part always fucks me up. That part always fucks me up.
Oh yeah.
So I do, again, I want to say thank you for coming on and hanging out with me. But before I let you go, I have one last question for you. We're going to bounce back to Nightmare on Elm Street. And what we're going to do is we're going to rank this movie on how much it affected you on first viewing. So we're not ranking this movie on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle.
Okay.
Allie, what would your ranking of Nightmare on Elm Street be?
I already forgot. We're doing this as like out of 5?
Yeah.
Okay, I would say it's like a 4 because like it like I was scared.
Mhm.
I was intrigued. I was very much like, hey, now I'm gonna have nightmares. So like, sup, big bro, I'm gonna also be sleeping in your room tonight just because someone's going to get me if I fall asleep. And it didn't make me steer away from horror films. If anything, I was like, okay, but what happens now?
Right.
Like I know it's the 90s, so I know that other ones have been made. Are we gonna go to, you know, Blockbuster and get them? Like, what happens? And as well, like I got a chance to meet Robert Englund a few times and it was like just dreams come true. I have like a signed Freddy glove. I weirdly have like, it's in my other room, but I have like a bunch of weird memorabilia that I've collected. I have like Living Dead dolls of it. I have his like autographed picture here, like right beside my bed.
So sick.
Because I'm like, I just love you so much. Like this series meant a lot to me because it definitely was like the first franchise I watched all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dug it all the way through and felt like this is what like a classic horror film truly meant to me because it's all practical effects. It's truly nonsense and it's something that's not going to happen in real life. And I'm like, I would love to suspend my disbelief for something like that versus like I like things that could happen in real life, but they don't affect me the same as like a burn victim haunting me in my dreams.
Sure.
I also just realized you're like wearing a Freddy shirt right now.
I totally am. Had to do it for the episode.
Yes.
So yeah, I just want to say that this has been an amazing time hanging out with you. And I know I said it at the top, but Guys, we're at the end of the third act. The credits are about to roll. The curtain's about to drop. But before that happens, there's some social media links down here that need some clicking. So make sure you're clicking the links in the description, following her on social media, and checking out her short film right here on YouTube. So, Allie, please don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.